Hello, everyone, and welcome to the About Healing podcast. This is a show created for those on or awakening into their spiritual journeys who are ready, wanting, and learning how to heal themselves. I'm your host, Sheree Buckman, medium and spiritual healer. Join me as I share my unfiltered perspective in healing, creating a place of love and understanding for all, reminding us that we are in this life together and never alone in our struggles. To learn more about me and my purposeful work, visit my website at shereebuckman.com. Let's begin. Well, hello and welcome back, everybody. Hi, Copper.
Good morning.
Good morning. Man, I'm so excited for this episode. Honestly, I have some really fun, I don't want to say fun. It's probably not fun. It is more of a deep topic, and it feels fun just in the fact because it's something that I've tackled and have been through, and I feel like it's going to help a lot of people. But before we get started into today's topic, I really want to share about this really fun, interactive opportunity to win free things from the podcast. Copper and I have been discussing really fun ways to kind of give back to our listeners, and we have come up with this fun idea of doing a freebie Friday, and we're going to do that the first Friday of every month. With this episode being released at the end of August, we are getting close to our very first freebie Friday, which will take place on Friday, September 2nd. But I want to tell you the rules and how to go about this and how fun this is and the type of things we will be giving away. So for the first one, we are putting together this fun little kind of like gift basket, and it's going to have really fun items from crystals to maybe some local fun herbal teas. I'm going to put a lot of fun things in there. So to win or to earn these entries, there's going to be a post that we put on our social media outlets that is going to be all about the drawing. And you will need to go on there and comment and tell us that you are following or you are already a follower, and that's fantastic. You will earn entries for that. And if you follow on both outlets, that's 2 entries. Plus, there are going to be other ways where you can earn additional entries throughout the week, but you'll have to follow and stay tuned for those. So it'll be super exciting. We hope you enjoy it, and we will ship the gift. So no matter where you are, it will be shipped directly to you, and it's all on me. Yes, you're welcome. It'll be super fun. So with all of that fun there and your ways to win some free healing items and goodie bag, I want to roll into our topic for this week. So this is a topic actually that I personally have been working on for a while, and it's something that hit me recently, most especially with this new transition with the podcast and Katie separating herself and leaving the podcast, and then everything rolling into me. And what I really want to talk about is worthiness. It is something that I have dealt with too. And before I really kind of go into that story of what I went through, and then, of course, how I got out of it and how I'm healing myself in that and how I am understanding my own self-worth. I find it interesting that when new opportunities come up, I see that people react in usually one of 2 ways. Of course, there could be more reactions, but I see this most often. Either someone is going to be very excited and rejoice and claim that new opportunity. Like, yes, it's something I earned, or it's something I dreamt about, or it's something that I manifested, or whatever it may be. And it's super exciting, and they're rolling with it and accepting it, and they accept it without fear. It's kind of like, yes, or despite the fear, we're excited and we're rolling with it and it's all new and I earned it. But then there's also the other side of it. And I've seen it in this way too, where the new opportunity comes, again, whether you've dreamt it or worked towards it or you're manifesting it. Now that it's right in front of you, I've seen those just completely retreat in fear that it's there and oh my goodness, well it's here now and it's right there in front of you and all you have to do is grab it, but it becomes so overwhelming that you retreat away from it. And honestly, I think that I'm having such a tough time even saying that out loud because I feel the emotion building inside myself too. Like it
Mhm.
brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And so this is, I mean, this is very common. And what I have also found, especially during the process of going through this for myself, I have found that I've done this so many times where these new opportunities come up and they're big and exciting. You kind of freeze for a minute, like frozen in fear, like, whoa. Like it's exciting to see that that opportunity is sitting in front of you, but to do it or to go into that new realm of change, the unknown, to question whether you deserve it. And that's what started happening with me. Because when these things come up, whether you're on the one side where you will rejoice and accept and go with it and roll with these new opportunities, or whether you're one to retreat and kind of be stuck in that worry and fear of the what ifs if I take it or anything else, it really comes down to one thing. And this is what I found. It comes down to one thing. It's about, do you feel worthy? Do you feel worthy? And boy, didn't that hit me like a ton of bricks after I absorbed the fact and completely supported Katie in separating herself in this podcast because she had to do it for herself. And although I was excited because this podcast sat in me for so long and wanting to create it and getting Katie to come with me to create it, that now, even with her full on support for me to take this over and to go with it, I sat there like a deer in the headlights in fear. It was a lot at first. And honestly, it took me, oh man, a good 2 weeks of sitting in this, like to really process and work my way through this. Because although I knew deep down this is podcast and doing this was so important to me, that I have so much to say and I have so much to share that is not just coming from me, but because I am able to communicate things that is shared with me through loving spirit, not only with that, but through my own experiences or the experiences of my clients, I still asked all the questions. Questions like, am I enough? Who am I to sit here and talk to people about healing themselves? I mean, honestly, I go through this even when I was accepting the fact that I was a medium and the fact that I can do all of this work and this self-healing. And what value do I have? What is my value? These are all the questions that really I was rolling around in. And a part of it was not only understanding my self-worth, but it was also a piece of it called imposter syndrome. I've heard this, a lot of people explain, especially when they put themselves in situations where they're talking to others or creating something for other people. Like, just who am I to do this? Like, what makes me so special? And I realized too that it also all rolled into that too was this really bad habit, not only for myself, like, yes, I had this bad habit, but for a lot of people out there too, is we look for our value from other people. We need the opinions of others to tell us that we're doing a good job or to tell us that we're doing the right thing. But boy, did I learn a new lesson when it comes to all this. And you know what? This is amazing that the fact that this happened. As I have said in the past, especially if you've listened to episode 8, my previous story, I welcome these moments of growth, these moments where even though it feels a little overwhelming and you're questioning yourself and you're questioning your worth and your value or whatever it may be, it's amazing because these things are now boiling to the surface where I can now identify and start working through so that I can find a new perspective or figure out what it is that I'm missing, what it is I need to work on so that I can continue to grow and work past this. And so, obviously, if I'm still sitting here talking to you and recording this episode, I did work past it because I am going to continue to do this and I am finding my value and my worth in everything that I'm doing. And I want to share with you what I learned in that process of how I got to this point here. And I will continue working on it. It's not like it was a miracle thing that happened overnight. It's like, ooh, aha, this idea, like, oh, there's my value. I found it. Hey, I am amazing. I mean, I am, and I know that. But it is this beautiful process that not only I did through my own meditation and journaling and from my background of what I know, but I did ask for guidance from my spirit guides and from loving spirit that surrounds me. And I want to share it all with you and how it all came to be. What I learned were 5 things. And these are the main ones, and there are probably many more out there that if you're going through it or you've studied it, I'm sure there are. But these are the 5 important things that came up that I had to look at and identify and readjust my thinking around. And the first one is my self-imposed limits. The self-imposed limits, these are a big deal. These are unnecessary limits that we put on ourselves. So the thing about self-imposed limits is that you're the only one who gets in your own way. These are created from preconceived stories and false beliefs that we've learned throughout either our childhood and throughout our life from people that surrounded us as examples. Like we saw other people go for their dreams and fail, and that was scary and they had a really hard time. So now we're like, ooh, we don't want to do that. Or we have been told by others that there are limits to everything and you can't do that. You know, whether you're a woman, you can't do that. Whether you're not smart enough, whether you don't have the means, whether you fill in the blank, honestly. And these all pile into us, especially at a young age when we're learning and absorbing everything. And now it's kind of like that seed that gets planted. Okay, well, maybe we really can't do these things. So I'm not even going to try because so and so told me I can't. Or I've seen someone else do it and they can't. So what makes me so special that I can? The thing is that when you're trying to create your dreams or going towards your goals, you are going to hit obstacles. Nothing is perfect. But that's part of the journey that's amazing, that makes you feel fantastic, is getting over those obstacles. Every obstacle, all you have to do is look at it and figure out what direction you want to go. Do you want to go around it, over it, under it, or create a whole new path? There always is a new direction. Don't go into a goal thinking that there's not going to be any issues or stress or stopping points. You've got to figure out a way around it. So, like Edison, who created the light bulb, he said he found 1,000 ways not to create a light bulb until he found the one that did. That's amazing. He tried 1,000 different times. And you have to think about that. Like, how many times would it have taken you to just stop and, like, forget it? This can't be done. This is just, no. No matter my gut or my intuition says that I want to try this and this is exciting, but at a certain point, giving up. But he didn't. And he kept going. And not only that, like, he was told he did it in spite of his childhood, a teacher telling him that he was too dumb, not smart enough to do what he did. I find this an incredible story just to show that no matter what you're told, no matter how difficult it is or impossible it seems to complete something, that you have to get out of your own way. And we need to release those preconceived limits that we put on ourselves or others have put on us. And we need to just release them and do and create exactly what you feel that is so deep down. Because if you feel it and it's there for a reason. That's what our instincts are for. That's what this gut is. That is our intuition, and that is how we're being guided, not only by our inner soul selves, but from those that are surround us also that we can't see. So the second item that I found that I had to face, or that has to be represented in this when we are facing and looking at our worthiness and our value of ourselves, is that vulnerability. I do believe that this is a big part because when you think about it, especially when we talk about our last example of releasing those preconceived limits that we've placed for ourselves, to do that is putting yourself in a vulnerable situation because now you're starting to think for yourself and creating something that's very different that you've been told otherwise. And obviously, if you follow the podcast and you heard episode 8 when I talked about my story, this is a huge thing that I personally have been going through. Being more vulnerable, that it's okay to be myself and do what I feel that I know is true to me. The more that I allow myself to be vulnerable in this, especially when it's talking about worthiness and creating that and understanding that for myself, it brings me more to a place of peace. Is it scary? Absolutely. Oh my gosh, it isn't easy. Vulnerability is so hard to be honest with yourself, and then not only with yourself, but then also projecting that outward so other people see the true side that you project. So to create something or to go for your dreams or you dare to succeed in really any role in your life, and whether it's not work or whether it is to be a parent or on a sports team or to create artwork and show it off to the world, it all requires vulnerability because you have to put yourself out there in one way or form, especially if you're going to decide to do things a little differently than those around you or those that have told you to do it in a different manner. So now going into the third item I learned into understanding my worthiness is I had to really look deep down and I had to see my lack of confidence. That lack of confidence, this confidence factor, this was a big one. To me, this is definitely, I see this as a tie between worthiness is confidence. It's kind of like to me that little subcategory connected to it. And my lack of confidence is what created my imposter syndrome. That feeling of who am I to talk about healing? Who am I to talk about my personal stories out onto a public forum where anybody could hear? What do I have to bring to the table? These are all the things that kind of went in and rolled through my mind over and over again. And the one thing about confidence, though, is confidence isn't something that you're born with. We may know some people that have this full confidence. We're like, how do they do that? That's just a personality trait. Man, I wish I had that trait. Like, man, to be confident would be amazing. But confidence isn't a trait. It isn't something that you're born with or born without. This is something you have to practice. This is something that grows and you have to put effort into. And to do that, I have learned, and what I have been guided into this is truly sometimes you have to fake it until you understand it. Essentially, fake it till you make it, as the saying goes. But this is where affirmations come really handy. And it's funny, like I've told clients too, like, do you need to have more positive affirmations? We need to put these words and phrases, put it on a sticky note, put it on your mirror in the morning where you'll see it brushing your teeth before you go to bed and after you wake up. Put it on your fridge, put it in your car, wherever you need to. And I had to look back and I had to retake this advice in telling myself, I got this. Like, if I feel the need and I've gone this far, I can do this. And a part of that lack of confidence, at least for me, especially in my example of talking about keep going in this podcast, was Katie was leaving and it triggered all of this again, even though I was already hosting and creating the episodes. Well, now that brought it into, but now it's just me. I have no one to fall back on. Like there's no one to share blame. There's no one to really share all of that when you're creating the content with somebody. But now I am the person who's creating it all. I mean, I have Copper here. She's my go-to girl. I mean, she's the one who does all of my technical stuff and helps me with all my social media ideas and things like that. But the content of everything we talk about,
That's all you, babe.
it's me. And that's a big deal. And so not only did I have to tell myself that I could do this, but creating that confidence. And with that, the other factor in the confidence was being brave. Of course, fear is there. Fear is there, but I have to do it anyway. And that's what I had to do. And despite the fear, I'm still going and I'm still doing. It gets easier though. And I really have to put it out there because that fear is a scary thing. And to go towards the thing that you fear and that worry and the anxiety that hits you to do it, hello, been there, felt that. I have been right there with you. But what I did is I did it anyway. And if my heart didn't explode out of my chest, man, it felt like it could have. I'm telling you, that last episode, my first episode without Katie and creating that, man, that was difficult. That was like creating the first episode all over again. That was tough. And I did it anyway. And you know what? This episode, I feel so much better. I do. I feel better because I got over that first hump and I'm going to keep going. So just know that it's just that first initial step you take is going to be the hardest one you take. And then from there, the fear's still there, but it's not overbearing because you survived the first big one. So you're going to keep going and keep going and keep going. And that's how it worked for me. Now, the fourth big thing, and I'm glad I just brought up the whole Katie scenario of her leaving and now it's all on me and I'm creating all the content, because I realized the other big thing that brought in the fear and the worry and whether or not I wanted to continue in this opportunity of claiming it as my own was, holy cow, the readiness to do the work. I think that comes up too when we are staring new opportunities in the face and whether we accept it and rolling with it. Like, yes, I know this is going to be more work, but I'm ready to do it. Now, it's also the same thing, but in its opposite form for those that are stuck in the fear and worry, because now, yes, you're there and you got it, but it's going to be a lot of work to get into this new opportunity, this goal you've set yourself up for, whether it is the dream job, whether it is making a sports team, whether it is deciding to become a parent, whatever new role or opportunity you have set forth and set, and it's staring you in the face, it's going to require work. And no, normally we don't know what to expect because usually it's something different. You have this big goal and you've aspired to reach it and now you're getting it. It's like, well, man, you're about to get your goal. And it's also the now what? Well, reaching that. Well, you got to create a new goal, but you've got to adjust to the new plane that you're at too. And it's going to create a lot of work. So obviously it can be daunting and intimidating, especially if there are many steps or an unknown road. If you accept it, you're going to be thrown onto a new path that you just don't know where it's going. Bringing back to that fear factor, it's like, oh, I don't know if I have the time. I don't know if I have the energy. It took me so much work to get to this point. Man, this is a whole other level now. And I don't even know what to expect from this. But I will tell you, at least in my experience with this, that this has been a hard lesson for me to learn. And those who know me very well, not just on working in the podcast, but in my personal life too, that no rule has been set yet. Accepting and rolling into the new opportunity, you are still setting your rules and what you're able to do, your own boundaries. So for me, it was, well, if I keep doing this and we're creating something more and we're doing it more often, am I going to have enough time? I want to create balance with my family. Like I can get really overwhelmed. I still have my own business and my clients. Like there was so much. And I realized I have control of all of that. First of all, in my situation, I make my own schedule. Like, come on, I can create my own schedule. And maybe not everybody has that opportunity. But my point is, you at any time, even after you take an opportunity, if it doesn't work out, who said that you were stuck in it forever? I mean, unless you're having children. I mean, come on. Yes, but we roll with it, we grow, and we figure things out. So just know that you have more control than the fear that hits us. And sometimes we forget about that because we get consumed in the fear part or the excitement that turns into fear, because that happens too. That's what this podcast was for me. Super excitement because I know I want to do it, but it's like, whoa, then all the responsibility and everything else that came with it, along with my worthiness that we're talking about. But doing the work and completing it is an accomplishment in itself. Whether or not you're successful or not, that is amazing and that is growth. Because even if you fail at whatever it is that you're taking on, you got to look back and you have to give yourself props for even attempting it. That is amazing. Or look at it like Edison. I mean, it's a feeling that you're going to have inside. Like if you went through and you attempted and something failed, I think you have to really go deep down past the fear and ask yourself, am I still drawn to keep going? Is it meant to keep going? Or was it meant to just have you go through that stage and getting past that point and take that as a lesson for yourself? Then you can make the best choice for you, whether to keep moving on and try 1,000 more times to create what you feel so deep down. Or was it only meant to go so far and have the experience so that you can take it with you to create and do something different? Because no matter what, whether you succeed or you fail, they are amazing experiences. It's all an experience. So rolling into the fifth thing, the fifth and final piece that I found in adjusting and understanding my worthiness was I had to realize the bad habit of looking to others for worth. And I think a lot of us do this. A lot of us do. And whether you say you don't, you also have to look at it on sometimes we need the validation sometimes. And validation is good. Sometimes we need to know that, hey, are you responding to what I'm saying? Like we do need to hear that sometimes too. But it's allowing others' opinions to penetrate through us to not even go forward on something that we feel is right for us because this person said no. And what I've learned and what has come through over and over again from not only my experiences, but guidance from the amazing energy that surrounds us is our value is not in the opinion of others. It is not. We are the only ones who can create our value, the only ones. No matter how often, and if every single person in your life has told you no, I mean, yeah, that weighs really heavy on you, but you're the only one who can create the yes and keep going. You've got to find that fire to keep burning. And honestly, you have to look at who's telling you all this. Are you listening to the people that don't even understand you on top of that? Like for me to get advice for someone who doesn't even believe in what I do in healing and working through as a medium, well, obviously they don't understand it. And first of all, that's okay that they don't understand it, but I definitely should not be listening to their opinions on whether I should be doing this work or not, is my point. When we stop looking for outside sources to validate us, we can focus on our inner voice and intuition to lead us to extraordinary paths that will fill our soul and align with our purpose. And this right here was actually something directly that I created and channeled through a feeling of what I was being told. This was part of another piece that was divinely, I guess, channeled, so to speak, is that we are all worthy and receiving what we desire and are capable of living our dreams with purpose and fulfillment. We are all worthy, every single one of us. No one is excluded on fulfilling their dreams and working towards it. You, again, are the only one who can stop yourself and tell yourself that you can't do it. Yes, there may be obstacles, and sometimes some very difficult obstacles. Maybe it's either not the right time to start it, or you just need to find your way around, over, under, through it, whatever it may be. Is it going to be easy? No, not always. Absolutely not. Some of it's going to be really hard and really draining, but that's what makes doing it and getting to the other side more powerful and fulfilling. The accomplishment. It's pretty intoxicating because you get to look back at the path you took and you get to take that pride in saying that I did it despite my fear. I did it in spite of the obstacles and the no's because I blew up the limits that I put on myself and didn't allow others to devalue myself. To achieve is not without fear. It is about taking the leap of faith in ourselves, no matter the outcome. Whether we fail or succeed, the journey is always worth it. There is growth and experience in failure, and there's inspiration in success. Don't forget that. Win or lose, fail or succeed, you tried. And that is amazing because you faced your fear and you're doing it anyway. And that's what I learned from my experience and what I've been going through in this journey. I'm feeling so much better, especially now that I fully accepted the responsibility and taken on the podcast and have started creating and now recording in this. This is just my personal example to put it into frame for you. But I want you to know that if you were going through the same thing, if it was your habit to not only look at your value within others, but if it was your habit to be the person who was worried and afraid and rejected the new opportunities because you didn't know if you could do it or not, do it anyway. Do it anyway. You have no idea what the future holds for you or how things will turn out. You really don't. Even if you've done it before and it turned out one way, it will never be identical. Sometimes we have to adjust our own perception to change the outcome, and then it becomes a beautiful thing. And that's all I gotta say about that. Was that a bad Forrest Gump impression?
It was. It was really bad. And I'm
I
leaving it
know.
in.
No! That's funny. No, I can't do impressions at all, but I thought it was fun. It came into my mind. At least that's all I do have to say about that for the moment, at least for this episode. This has been my process. And honestly, this whole episode actually came from my own personal newsletter that I do through my website and through my mediumship work. So if you're ever curious and you want to follow my spiritual healing newsletter, go see my website, ShereeBuckman.com. You can actually go on there and check out all the past newsletters that I do. Every newsletter has a healing story in it, and it's usually related to what I'm going through in the moment. But it's what inspires me to possibly help others who are going through it. And then it has all of the updates and news of what's going on with me and my personal work with my clients and also with the podcast. And to keep following with the healing guidance, I am creating these wonderful healing tips and healing guidance associated to each episode and topic. To follow that, it is on social media. I will be putting that on a daily post of a tip to work on. So if you find yourself in this and if you've been drawn to what I shared during this episode, follow along on social media and you can start doing some of the work for yourself. I will put it out there on how to do it for yourself and some tips and exercises. And again, to ask more questions or to share any stories, email us about healingpodcast@gmail.com. And that's all I have for this episode. I hope it helped hearing my story and how I got out of it. I hope it inspires you to continue your healing and finding your worthiness. If you know somebody who could use the message, please share the episode. Thanks so much for listening. With so much love and gratitude, I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode. My hope today is that the message continues to guide you along your path to healing. You can find About Healing Podcast on Pandora, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, or any of your favorite places to listen in. Follow and share the podcast on Facebook and Instagram, where you can find healing guidance, quotes, tips, insights, and chances to win free stuff. To ask questions or share comments, email me at abouthealingpodcast@gmail.com, or feel free to always reach me on Facebook and Instagram. Until next time, be kind to yourself.